just go ahead and get started. It might take a minute while I'm just analyzing your gameplay, and then I'll start spouting out some stuff for you to take into account.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I like the tire usage.
Thanks, man.
All right, it seems like we have a slight aggression issue. I wasn't paying too much before, attention before I was asking you some questions, but we gotta make sure that we're not getting it too insanely aggressive. As on Junkrat, you don't have much tanking, right? You want to make sure that you're not stepping too far into the open, that you're not running into people, because you're gonna get instantly melted. In comparison to your tanks, who are gonna have a little bit more survivability. So try to stick behind your tanks and not walk too far ahead of them, unless you're being very safe about it.
Yeah, okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Okay. Good trap usage.
Uh-oh. Whoops.
Okay, make sure that when you're tiring, you're adequately behind cover so that you can't get shot at. There, we kind of tired while we were out in the open, so that meant that we were gonna be able to get shot at very easily and potentially die a lot easier. So make sure you're sticking behind cover so you're not dying.
If he's playing Sim, I should play a more... And I think,
Right.
yeah, that's it.
So you said that you only play 2 times a week, and then you also said that you like to flex around and you play like a lot of different. Do you play all different roles, or do you just stick mainly to DPS?
I play all different roles.
All right, and in all those different roles, do you have kind of main characters in those different roles that you
Not
play?
really.
Not really.
I can play like most of them. Let me just open
All
my
right.
career profile. I
So
think I've played like... Yeah, I played most of them.
all right, so that would be the first thing that I would like to talk about is if it all depends on what your goals are when you're playing. Okay, if your goal is to just I want to have more fun, then go ahead and play whatever you want. That's fine. But if you're trying to improve, which a lot of people that come for coaching are trying to just get better, um, and win more games and whatnot, my recommendation would be to not play all these different roles and characters, as that very heavily splits up your time, right? So, um, let's say, for example, if you're playing um, 3 different roles on 3 different characters, that's 9 different characters that you're playing consistently. Let's say that we narrow that down to 1 role and we narrow that down to 3 characters. Now that means that we're spending 3 times the amount of time on those characters, and we're able to improve at those characters faster, therefore. And on top of all this, you don't even have that much play time to play because you're not able to play that much. You're only able to play 2 times a week. So that's really going to heavily impact your ability to get better at the game if you're trying to spread out all your time, because you're never going to really learn how anybody's play style works if you're constantly swapping between people. Now, of course, that all comes down to, like I said before, if you would want to do that for improvement reasons, or if you're just trying to have more fun, in which case you can play whatever characters you want to play. But my recommendation for improvement would be to narrow it down to one single role and 2 to 3 characters rather than every single character. That way you can get little bit a little bit more specialized, and not as much spread out, and then that'll help you get better at the game.
Okay,
Right?
so I understand that, right? But like, there's this problem where like you see in my tank and support games, I like the time it takes to find a game is
Uh,
significantly less. So like I prefer to play damage in my opinion. Like I
yeah,
prefer to play damage, right?
yep,
But like if I were to play it, it takes a good 15-20 minutes to queue and find the game, and I don't even know if I'm gonna win. This is why my DPS is
mhm,
like much lower than the other two, because
yeah,
simply because I don't have enough time to just wait and queue for playing DPS. Like usually I
yeah.
just quickly queue into tank or support and just play the games there.
Yeah. So if you feel like you enjoy playing DPS more, the priority pass helps out a little bit with that now. Like if you look at the priority pass usage there, that takes it from a 10-minute queue to a 5-minute queue, which is much more closer to a support queue time than it is to what damage is. And then besides that, I guess that's you have to kind of prioritize, like, do you want to play what you find more fun in damage, but then also play less often? Um, that's kind of a priority thing. But if you're looking at it just kind of like taking, kind of looking at it objectively, let's say between all 3 roles, we do the same exact scenario that we're talking about, 3 different characters, right? And you have 900 hours to play in the game, right? If you're taking that 900 hours and dedicating 100 hours to each different character, that's 100 hours on each character. Now, if you take that and put it into 3 characters rather than 9 characters, now you're getting 300 hours on each character. And if you do put that into 2 characters, that's 450 hours into each character, right? So the more time that you're dedicating to one centralized character, that means you can get better with their abilities, or you can get better at how their playstyle works, because every single character in the game has a different playstyle, and they play in a different way, and they position in a different way, and they use their abilities, and they shoot in a different way, right? So if you're constantly swapping between everyone, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to really get a grasp on how they work.
Hmm.
So that would
Well,
be, yeah, go ahead.
I have like a more. I think I do have like an understanding of how the heroes are played, because like
You,
I have been playing for a really long time. I think I have my other. I can open my
mm,
other account as well, which is like I don't really play on this one anymore, and it's much
yeah.
lower ranking, even though I'm much better. Um, Let me just Overwatch player tracker. I'm good, like level almost 500 on this account,
Uh-huh.
and like before that, I was also playing on PS4. So like, yeah, I'm level 427 on this other account that I used to play on,
Mhm.
and I like pretty much like understood the heroes pretty well, but I just simply couldn't get out of bronze or silver, even though I can now.
So
Because my wait, can I continue,
yeah,
please?
go ahead.
So when I played tank or support, right, on that other account, it was fine for me. But when in DPS, it takes me 15 minutes to find the game, and it's much harder to carry as DPS than to carry
Mhm.
as tank or support. Because when I was playing tank, I just fed with hog and it still got value, but you can't do that with DPS. So
Mhm.
like, there's that problem where I can't really climb, and like most of my friends aren't that good at the game, and they don't play it as often as I do.
Mhm.
So I'm just like don't really have anyone to queue with, and I don't really have the time as well. So that's a big problem for me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, everything that I said is just my recommendation. Take it or leave it. Um, uh, you
I
just
think
across
I'll try my best to take
yeah,
it.
across everyone that I've ever, you know, in all of my 3,000 plus hour, 3,000 like 500 hours plus of experience in the game, people who try to spread out more, unless they have that much time in the game, 3,000 hours plus or something like that, they really struggle because they don't um, really get down to the core of the characters that they're trying to work on. Yeah, they understand some basic fundamentals of their kits, but they don't really get into anything advanced. All right. While we're in queue here, I'm gonna see because there's some other stuff I wanted to talk about. Why? Let me just get open Overwatch real quick, and it should have opened it already. Okay, and I'm gonna be streaming that on Discord. Just let me know whenever you get into a game, and then I'll hop back over to your stream.
I
All right. Yep. If you want to
Let
take a
me
look, I'm
just
streaming.
open that. Yeah. Oh, we use the same profile picture.
Yep. For some reason, it's taking forever for me to get in game. All right. So we were
Wow,
just
that
what
is
character are we
some
playing?
high ping.
Yes,
Wait,
for
what
some
level
reason.
is that?
Level, this is gold border 5 stars, so I don't even know, couldn't even count it. Plus, I've played on tons of other accounts and custom games. If I put everything together, I'd probably be like a probably close to a diamond border, something like that. Probably it would be a diamond border. All right. So, essentially, what I want to talk about here, real quick, and just again, let me know whenever you get into a game, is just going over positioning real quick, as that seems to be something that we're struggling with a little bit. So, essentially, positioning something that applies to is where you're standing, right? It applies to every single character in the game, and most FPS games. If we are standing right here, right, and we're shooting at enemies, and they're shooting at us, and there's a whole line of enemies there, there's 5 of them, 6 of them, and they're all shooting at us. It takes us 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind something where now they can't shoot at us. But in that time it took us to get here, we died, right? From here, they cannot shoot at us because we're behind a solid object, and everything, just bounce off and we're safe, okay? So therefore, right here is much better positioning because in half a second we can go like this, right? And now they can't shoot at us once we duck behind cover. So this is a lot safer than when we were standing out in the open there. So just as a general game rule, good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover. So the further away we stray from that, then the worse and worse positioning we get, right? So we want to make sure we're staying next to objects. And there's a bunch of different types of cover in the game, right? We can use slopes like so, right? We can use pillars, right? While we're reloading, in between shots here. We can use it when we're low HP. Okay. Corners, again, corners and walls and doorways are a big one. Use objects like this, right? You can use the payload like that. Okay. Pillars, doorway, or sorry, corner, doorway. Okay. Corner up here, high ground. Oh, ping. And high ground is very fantastic positioning because it all acts as natural cover, right? Every platform does. So if we can see our enemies, we back up or away from the edge, and now they can't see us, right? We add in a crouch, and now they can't see us. So like same thing with look at this spot, add in a crouch, can't see us. Back away from the ledge, can't see us. So,
Yeah, I think I've done that.
mhm.
Oh, I found the game.
Yep.
I've done that a lot as Hanzo and Eichenwald, like specifically on the bridge on first point. I've
Mm-hmm.
done that a lot where like I'm standing on the bridge and I like usually just walk backwards a little bit and the enemies can't shoot at me or see
Yep.
me.
You need to screen share again, by the way.
Oh wait, oh yeah, I forgot I stopped. My bad.
Yep, no problem. But yeah, just gotta make sure that you're sticking next to cover, and then that way we're not dying nearly as easily. And the more survivability you have, the more you're gonna be able to do, and if you're alive longer.
In this situation, I'm really unsure of what hero to choose because there's absolutely no synergy in this comp whatsoever.
Right. Well, you guys look so far like you are in the middle of a brawl and a spam composition. So, we can pick either or. We can go for a brawl. We could go for a spam, like characters that are far away or close ranged. Um, yeah. So right now, you guys are running mainly a brawl composition, which means you're running something that wants to play close and fast. So we do have very high synergy here, as 4 or 5 of our characters work together.
Oh yeah, you're right. But then the Zen and Hanzo.
Yeah, but
I
usually,
think a large,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, a large problem with this comp, and that happens as well, which is a large problem as well.
Yep. Just don't worry about your comps being perfect. It's very rarely ever going to be perfect in ranked. If you're one or two people off from a perfect composition, does not make a difference because everyone's going to have that same issue in ranked. And like if you look at their comp, for example, they're not perfectly on a brawl either. They have a Mercy. Mercy doesn't work with that. They have a McCree who works okay with it, right? So they're not going to be perfect on it
And that's
either.
a higher level than you. But like then like something like what you just saw just now with my ride,
Mhm.
that happens like very often in my games, and I'm
Yep.
like really,
Yeah, you just
really.
don't even worry about it because guess what? The enemy Reinhardt's gonna do the exact same thing to you guys over and over and over again, right? So you just have to be able to capitalize on it, and we have to take the focus off of our team and put it onto what we could be doing better. Because if we're just focusing on what our team's doing wrong, we're never gonna improve.
I think I'm gonna ult around this corner right here.
Okay, very nice.
Ah,
Right there, when we saw that we were 30 HP, probably would have been better if we just tried to run away. Right, don't try to take the duel when you're low HP, but very good blossom there.
the queen to maybe some. Nah. I was just thinking if I could play anything to counter whatever they're playing. And like Doom is a very ability based hero, and like he's kind of like fucking us right now.
Yep, and Reaper's pretty decent against Doom.
And I'm dead.
All right. On Reaper, who is your main priority target? Or like targets?
The squishies in the back.
Yep.
Ah, I'm dead.
Yep. And even though we acknowledge that the squishies are our main priority target, so far the only thing I've ever seen you shoot at is the tanks, right? So we got to make sure that we're looking to actively attack the back line, right? The DPS and the healers because they are going to be a lot easier to kill than the tanks are. Oh, that's an unfortunate sleep. Um, Now Reaper is able to burn tanks very easily, but that doesn't change the fact that DPS and supports are going to be what you want to focus. So whenever we have an equal opportunity, we always want to focus supports in tank or DPS. Sorry, I'll talk more about that topic after this is done.
Just gonna try contest.
Make sure that you're paying attention to kill feed, as you know when you're down 3 people, that fight's lost, and you might not want to drop in at that point. It's better to just wait for your team to come back because if we're dropping in when the fight's lost, that means that all 6 of them get to look at us, and then we're going to be very heavily contested.
Uh, anti.
Okay, make sure that when you're low, you're requesting healing. That let's give your supports an in-game audio cue of where you are, the fact that you need healing, what character you are. It's like the same thing when you hear a Genji blading, right? When you hear Genji blading, you hear where he's at, right? In that same exact way, they hear the voice line and now they know that you need healing. So make sure you're getting into the habit of using that. Real quick, we'll talk about the kind of the target priority we're talking about, right? Tanks, they have 2 to 3 times the HP of supports and DPS, right? They have tanking abilities such as shields and bubbles. And on top of that, it's a lot harder for supports to pocket themselves than it is to pocket the tanks because they can both heal more output than they can to another person than they can to themselves, right? Most supports can't heal themselves very efficiently. Now, with that in mind, supports and DPS also have a higher statistical output. Tanks are very easily able to carry, but their role is to provide space for DPS and supports, right? They therefore don't have DPS do like the damage output, right? They have the damage output, supports have the healing output. Tanks don't have a statistical output in that sense, so we also want to be focusing supports and DPS in that way, right? So whenever you have an equal opportunity, right, that means you focus the supports or the DPS, not the tanks, right? Now, there are some times where you focus the tanks. If they are the only thing to shoot at, then you focus tanks. If they're out of position or they're low HP, then we can shoot at tanks, right? But besides that, we want to be making sure we're actively seeking out DPS and supports. And on a character like Reaper, we can just teleport behind them, and that means that we can very easily bypass tanks. Okay, very nice. Looks like our mechanics are very solid on McCree here.
Oh, that was lucky.
Alrighty. Make sure we're paying very close attention to Doomfist. If you don't have a flashbang available, make sure you're trying to avoid him, not let him get on top of you. So to do that, we can go below him. Alright, that makes it a little bit harder for him to see you and get to you. We can look to roll to get away. As soon as we see him pop out, we can roll, and then that means that now we're mixing up our movement, and he doesn't know where we are. Just make sure when you don't have your flashbang, you're looking to avoid him.
Yeah, the problem was just now I just made a mistake. I thought I had my flash on. I think it might be winnable. Uh, whoop.
Okay, just keep in mind Doomfist is kind of your job here, right? We have to make sure we're paying very close attention to Doomfist and what he's doing so we can look to save our supports from dying in the back line.
Free flanking. No.
Alrighty,
And
well,
then like there's also other problems where like the Zarya just grabbed there for no reason because the fight was already lost.
yep, so in that situation, I was just about to mention that. That's where you can come out and say, and communicate and say, okay, no, it's, we lost the fight, right? When you say that, then that doesn't guarantee that you're not going to ult, but it will up the chances that your team listens to you and doesn't use ult. Okay, the other thing is that we cannot, take that to heart
Not
and
in
it's
BC.
Oh, yep. I mean, that's why you press at the very beginning of the game. It's a good idea to press your chat button to see how many people are in chat, who you can communicate with. But then the other thing is we can't really focus on that at all because again, the enemy teammates are going to be doing the exact same thing. Therefore, we're on even footing with every single person at our rank.
Okay, that was just not
Yep,
okay for
don't be afraid
me.
to be afraid to use your flashbang there.
No, no,
Um,
no. I just completely with like 6
yeah,
shots.
I saw. Yeah, probably be like a good idea if you just ended up using flashbang. That way, it's a kind of a guaranteed kill rather than trying to go for the mechanical shot.
Did I have my flash online just now?
Yep.
I wasn't sure. I'm really bad at keeping note of my cooldowns. They don't have any more Doom. I think I saved the high noon now because they just used. Oh, I saw it coming. I tried.
All right.
I tried to stun him out of it.
Make sure you're looking to take high ground much more often, right? High ground on top of it being very safe and great positioning. It means that you have a ton of visibility and you can bypass shields very easily because you can just stare at them from above, right? We can get high noon off from there. We can look to contest their DPS and force them off of high ground, which puts them at the disadvantage. And you're very easily able to shoot deep and contest supports and DPS from there, right? And you can just bypass the tanks. So we gotta make sure we're looking to take high ground whenever it's like easily available in a fight, right? So you see
What?
how easy that kill is in comparison to trying to. Oh. So you see
I
how
may
it
or
is.
may not have just fallen off.
Yeah, but you see how easy those kills are in comparison to trying to sit on the front line and just shoot at the tanks, right? Because we are just very
Yeah.
easily able to bypass them and get into a very good position where you can see and shoot at everything.
Yeah, I don't really usually think about that a lot.
Hmm.
Like when you said it, it like made sense. So like I wanted to try it out just now, and it worked. So
Yep.
I think I'll be doing that a lot more.
Yep. Whenever the high ground's in the fight, you just want to make sure you're trying to look to contest it. If they have too many things there, if you're trying to like 1v3 into it, then don't go for it. Sorry, I'll let you finish the fight.
It's fine.
Great. There, we'll talk about how no one fights are won and lost there, but that was a lost fight very early on there, and when we're losing that fight, we want to make sure that we're looking to get out if we can instead of trying to stay in the fight longer, and then that way we can group up with our team and not end up staggering and dying late. But that's something we'll talk about after this game's done.
I think I'm gonna stand back a bit and high noon.
Okay, very nice.
I messed up a bit there.
Yep, just
Just
make sure that you're still respecting the supports because they do have a bit of damage.
the
Alrighty.
ah
So don't get into another game yet. We're gonna go over a bunch of stuff in between the round here. All right, so
okay.
we're just going to go over some strengths and weaknesses real quick of kind of what it looks like you need to really be focusing on. So first off, mechanics, very strong suit of yours. You hitting a ton of shots. Mechanics is definitely something that you're not going to need to work on too much here. That's probably one of the strongest suits that you have. Second off, then we come to some of the other areas. I think you also have very good ultimate usage. You seem to have a grasp of when and where ultimates should be used, and you use them decently. And you've gotten value out of all of them when you've used them. Then we come to some of the areas where you have some weaknesses. Probably say you have a big weakness when it comes to positioning, and keep in mind positioning it affects a ton of your gameplay, right? When we're in a bad position, like we were talking about with the high ground, right? That means that we can't really capitalize and do much because if we're taking a bad position, we can't kill things as easily as if we have a good position. When we're in a bad position, we're much more likely to die and therefore get zero value and lose more fights if we're in a bad position. So positioning is a big one. You also, I think, have an awareness issue of kind of knowing, especially when it comes to abilities and team fights, of knowing whether or not we've won or lost, knowing what's happening, paying attention to your abilities, and then on top of that, just making sure we're keeping tabs on the characters like Doomfist, right? That's all things that feed into awareness and knowing what's going on around us, and that's another area that we're struggling in. And we'll talk about that in a second. And then thirdly, I think ability usage could be I think that's one that needs a little bit of work in. Just making sure that you're paying attention to your abilities and when you have them and when you don't have them. Make sure we're looking to use our abilities because there are a few times where we didn't have flash or we thought we had flash, and there are a few times where we did have flash when we thought we didn't have flash, right? So make sure paying attention to your abilities so that we can use them appropriately. So now we get into kind of knowing whether or not we won or lost the fight. So that mainly will come down to watching kill feed and paying attention to whether or not you're up or down people, right? Kill feed's top right corner of your screen. Um, if you see that you are up 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage. When you have an advantage, you can play much more aggressively because you are up kills, and therefore you have more teammates alive, and you're going to be able to kill them with a lot less pressure on you because they have less people. Um, when you are up 2 to 3 people, that is pretty much where you have won the fight, right? By that point, you don't want to use any ultimates. That's you can communicate that. Go, no ults, we've won the fight, right? You want to be playing super aggressive at that point. Are you familiar with the term stagger? I'd imagine you are, because that's a pretty common term in
Yeah,
Overwatch.
yeah. I do have like lots of Overwatch knowledge. I've been watching lots of Overwatch League
Mm,
contenders, like streams, YouTube, everything.
mm,
Because like I I like the game. I want to play more, but my
mm.
parents are just like really strict, so I'm not allowed. I
Yeah.
just try my best to become better in other ways,
Yep. So,
other than like practicing in game. Yeah,
so I'll take that as a yes then. Yep. So
yeah.
staggering.
Stagger.
Yep. So we want to push forward,
Keeping
get
the
stagger
enemies
kills.
behind so their what's it called? Their respawns are like staggered, so you
Yep.
have more time.
Yeah, it gives you more time. It can potentially start stagger trains where you kill them and they spawn late, and then all of a sudden for some reason they decide to run in without their team, right? And then now you stagger those people, and then they keep going in one after the other, right? That can start a stagger train where they just keep doing it. Staggering can save you time. If they decide to group up, then that means that you have more time to work with because they are wasting time. So you pushing forward when you're up kills is going to be very important for you. But the other big flip side to this is that it just goes the exact opposite way too, right? When you're down 1 to 2 people, that is a disadvantage. Therefore, you should be looking to play a little bit more passive. You didn't lose the fight yet, but you are losing the fight. When you're down 2 to 3 people, that is where you have pretty much lost the fight. You can do the same thing. Say, no souls, we've lost, right? That way your team's and when you're communicating, just make sure you're not having the expectation that people will listen to you. It is nice if they do listen to you, be pleasantly surprised, but you have no guarantee that people will listen to you. Just so don't have that expectation. I'll talk more about in a topic similar to that in a second here. But say you've lost the fight, you don't want to use ultimates, and then on top of that, you don't want to end up staggering yourself, so you want to look to get out if possible. And if you don't think you can get out, let them kill you. Right? There's a few times where we stayed in fights too long. A few times where we try to kind of we just didn't really respect those kind of rules too much, and then that resulted in us staggering, or that resulted in us trying to not being aggressive enough when we should have been aggressive when we were up some picks. So that's going to really affect your aggression. Now, one other thing it seems like you have a little bit of a kind of mental struggle with, which is something that a lot of people at lower ranks do, is kind of the team, what's my team doing mentality, right? Um, so I'm just here to tell you that doesn't matter what your team's doing. Yep, you not gonna sit here and lie to you. Your team will lose your games. right? That's gonna happen. Jane imagines that you're very familiar with the Overwatch scene. Then you know who Jane is. He's an Overwatch coach, right? Overwatch League coach, professional streamer. He says that when you essentially in your games, you're going to, no matter what, your team is going to carry you and you're going to win a third of them. No matter what, your team is going to throw the game and you're going to lose a third of them, and then you have an impact on a third of your games, right? Now, when it comes to that mentality, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say, okay, well, your team is never an issue. They're going to be an issue, right? They're going to lose you games, but it doesn't matter because the only way that we're going to get better is if we focus on ourselves. We're never going to be getting the same teammates again. We're never going, so therefore we can't really improve off of them. The only consistent factor in every single one of your games is you, and that's the only factor you should be thinking about, right? You thinking about what is my team doing? Why did the Zarya just grab there? Why did the Reinhardt just charge in, right? That is mentalities like, yeah, it sucks, but the enemy team's gonna be doing the same thing, right? Because they're all at the same rank, um, and we're the only consistent factor on our team. So really focusing on what you could be doing better in every single game, not what your team is doing wrong, because that's how you can get better. Whereas if you're just focusing on what your team is doing, that's gonna be how you kind of sit at your rank and never improve. All right, does that kind of make sense?
Yep.
Alrighty. I think you can go ahead and look to get into a queue here. On Reaper, and then we'll just keep talking for a minute. On Reaper, you know how we talked about target priority and who you should be focusing. Essentially, your play style on Reaper comes down to TP behind, right? Go on their backline air supports, right? And then once you feel pressured, like they're about to stun you or they're about to, they're all turning and shooting at you, then we wraith back to our team. And then while we're waiting for the cooldowns to come back, right, because our wraith is still on cooldown, we look to shoot them from the front line, right? And then we just do this over and over again. We get their cooldowns back. Oh, first we reload, right? We get our cooldowns back. We TP behind, right? Then we go on the back line again, right? Because our target should be their back line, not their front line. And then we wraith back to our team. Do the same thing over and over again, right? You do the same thing with your ultimate. This just means that we're getting past tanks very easily. Means that we're getting on Reaper we do no damage from a distance, right? But the closer we are, we do more and more damage. So this is a way to get in on top of them very fast and to a distance where we can one tap, two tap, three tap people, right? Because on Reaper we can one tap people. So that's just going to be kind of your play style and how you should be looking to play on Reaper. Same thing with your ultimate. Just make sure with your ult you're looking to like get behind them. You want it to be a surprise advantage. I only saw you use one, and it looked pretty good. But if they know that it's coming, it's gonna be very easy to stun you. It's gonna be very easy to shoot at you. If it's a surprise advantage, that means that you get away with it all the easier. So just want to make sure that it's kind of the same exact thing as when you're just TPing in behind and going on their supports. Is you're TPing to a spot where they don't know where you are. Try to make it sneaky. High grounds are usually really good. Behind them is good, right? And then just make sure as well that they can't see either end of your TP, right? If we're TPing out in the open, they see it, they shoot at us. If we're standing on the open, even if we're TPing to somewhere like where they might not suspect, we're still standing on the open and they know we're TPing, right? Instead, if we, maybe back around this corner, right, and then now nobody can see us on either end, now this TP becomes a lot more secretive and we can get away with it easier, right? Okay, so
Okay.
that is
Like
good.
what I usually try to do with my Reaper ults, like usually I just try to wraith in and like try to bait out any cooldowns from the enemy team first, such as like brick stuns or like any stuns anyway. So that like I can ult even if I like do it successfully, there's no one trying
Yeah.
to stop me from fully finishing my ult and killing more people.
So that I would say probably isn't going to work too well the higher in ranks you go, as you just wraithing into the enemy team. They're going to see you're in wraith and they're not going to use abilities on you until you come out of it. So that would just result in you feeding, because now you're just coming out of wraith and they're going to be able to shoot you and stun you because you don't have that cooldown, and if you run straight at people, they all know you're there and they're able to shoot at you very easily and stun you very easily. So that's something that's only going to work at a lower rank when people do get fooled by that trick. And you don't ever want to play as if you're playing at a lower rank, right? You never want to say, well, I'm going to use it because it works here, because then you come, if you're a gold player, right? If you come into a plat game and that doesn't work in plat level, then now you're not going to be able to compete with plat reapers because they're using strats that you don't know how to use, right? Because now people aren't going to fall for the same old trick, and it's just not going to flat out work. And then now you don't get nearly as much value out of your ultimate, and you're going to end up feeding, and it's actually going to go the opposite way rather than you getting value. Right, so that's a strategy that might work at gold when people are seeing a wraith and they try to stun the wraith, but at a rank where people notice the wraith and they don't shoot at the wraith, then that just results in you dying instantaneously. And it's better off that you can wait out cooldowns. That's a good idea. You should try to pay attention to what stuns they have, because you can try to wait until they've used them. But the other thing, the main thing that you're going to get value out of with Reaper is you either need enough protection to survive it, such as a bubble or a nano boost, right? Or you need to make a surprise advantage to where you get the first second or two off, and then by that point they're all so low HP that it doesn't even matter. Right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
Alright, I think that's all we need to go over in there, so hopefully we can just get into the next thing here.
Do I queue?
Oh yes, I that's my bad. I thought I told you to queue a couple minutes ago, but at least it's a 2-minute queue, it says.
I'm just gonna go into like a lobby. Oh, Widow. Is there Widow headshots only here? Nah, whatever. Oh wait, it's the deathmatch I don't like.
Oh my goodness, 212 kills. How long has this guy been in here?
Probably more than an hour. Either that or he's been farming off others.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it seems like you have a very decent grasp on crosshair placement, right? You constantly are aiming head level. You very good mechanically when you're on McCree, especially. I didn't notice it too much while you're on Reaper, but he's not a character that requires an insane amount of mechanics.
Fuck. That guy just jumped off.
Yeah, if you're looking to play a DPS, it's now when it comes to like picking 2 or 3 characters, it usually is going to be a kind of an effective idea to try to stick within either hit scan or flex DPS. So flex DPS being mostly anything that's not hit scan, right? Projectiles,
Yep.
and that way it kind of translates the easiest. So like kind of all the skills that the other characters have go easier. Hit scan translates into hit scan, projectile translates into projectile, so you'll just be able to get better and better. But of course, like I'm mainly a flex DPS player, but I still play hit scan because flex kind of tries to prioritize like kind of everything there. So if you're trying to maybe be a little bit more flexible, then flex DPS might be the way you're trying to go, and then you can play hit scan and flex DPS. Basically, whatever the team is in need of.
This warden guy's pretty good. Like, because the problem is when sometimes when I queue into games, I just like the people I play with, they just instantly lock into whoever they want to play,
Mm-hmm.
which means like I'm not as free to choose like a
Yeah.
role which I'm comfortable with as much as others.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I play to win and I don't just play for my own fun.
Yeah. Which
Which is
playing which
which yeah.
insta locking a role isn't always just playing for fun. It's actually probably the most effective way that someone can play to win, because them locking a role guarantees, like we were talking about before, how you're the only consistent factor in your game. If they can get consistently good at knowing how to carry on one character, that's how they climb. Though it is a little bit of a selfish-ish type of way to play. You're not going to get any counters going, but at the same time, they're also going to be probably going to be the best at that role. So, yeah, when you're trying to pick, what's going to work best with the composition, you just have to kind of pay attention to what composition are we running, what would work here. And then if that's something you need help with, we can try to talk about that.
Yeah, and there's another issue in like where like sometimes it just has to be done where I have to like flex onto different roles which I don't
Mm-hmm.
play as often as some, because in some games like my other DPS is just playing something like Junkrat, and
Mm-hmm.
the other team is playing Pharah Echo, and there's
Yeah.
literally nothing I can do except for go hit scan.
Which it
Or
sounds
it
like
might be the other, yeah.
which it looked like you were very, very good at McCree, especially just like hitting shots mechanically. So I don't see that too much of an issue. You're, yeah, 100%. The me saying 2 to 3 characters does not extend to situations where it's absolutely needed like that, right? If you need to counter somebody, go ahead and counter them. It's mostly just a focus on those 2 to 3 characters, right? You're just try to prioritize them and make sure you're trying to mainly play those characters, but it doesn't mean that you can never swap into something else. Oh, I feel lied to. Your ticket said it would take 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's what happens with the priority pass thing usually. Like it happens in normal queue as well. It says
Hmm.
sometimes it just says like 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes, then it goes straight to 15.
Yeah.
I've been in queues for 30 minutes at some points in time.
Wow.
Because in lower ranks everyone just wants to play DPS.
Yeah.
It's like the stage where people don't really know what they can and can't play yet.
Yeah.
They just wanna have fun. Like shooting snipers, doing the most damage, making flashy plays, that's just all they want to do.
Hmm.
Which is like a big problem. That's why elo hell exists, because people are just more selfish in
Oh,
lower ranks.
Elo Hell is essentially Elo Hell is whatever rank that you're stuck at. There's no such thing as an Elo Hell
Oh,
for like essentially you can't say that there's an Elo Hell for all players in that all players are unable to get out of one specific rank because of the fact that like of what we were talking about of every character, like if you're saying that everyone on my team is bad, that applies to the enemy team too, and to a even more so extent because they have one less good player, right? Because it's a 6v5 essentially, right? Because you're the one consistent player. So if you're carrying and you're doing good, you can very, very easily carry out of at low ranks, right? Like because I personally started in silver, right? I got into the game and I was a bad player, and I got better, and I someone can't tell me that Elo Hell exists because every character is the same. Oh, checking the profile. Yeah, so because of all the things I've talked about, right? Talking about how your team isn't, why not to focus on your team? All those same
wait,
things are on the enemy team
how the
too.
hell is this guy silver? Wait.
People, because he plays this game mode way too much, and then that means that he just gets good at only hitting Widowmaker headshots, right? But
Oh, oh.
some like how we were talking about how you have good mechanics, but you're maybe struggling with positioning and awareness. That's like with people like that, that's to an extreme extent where they're very, very, very well mechanically sound, but they don't understand a thing about positioning or awareness, and then they just end up feeding, even though they're getting kills.
Here's an example of what I was mentioning just now, where like I basically don't have a choice to play flex, which I prefer to play more.
Hmm.
Like because
So we'll keep in
my
mind.
Genji
Go ahead.
instantly locked. There's a Zen and a Mercy, and which means I really can't consume too many heals or my tanks are gonna die.
Hmm.
And like so I have to play hit scan, and this also applies to tank when like
Uh huh.
the other person locks into off tank and I have to go play flex over to main tank. and in support where I have to go to from flex support to main support. It has it's like
Mhm.
what a lot of my games where if I don't do this, we're gonna lose. So
So you have two
yeah,
options here. First off, you can just insta lock yourself, which is a way to make sure that you're consistently practicing your role, which will mean that even if it's a bad comp, you're still gonna be playing like you're still gonna be playing okay. And two is basically just
I have a feeling
pick a
they're
flex
coming.
DPS
Yep.
anyways, because there's no rule that says you need one flex DPS, one hit scan. Look, they're on two hit
Good
scan right now,
double.
right? So there
Yeah, you're right.
you are able to play a double flex DPS if you wanted. Um, so you don't have to play a hit scan just because you're on a flex DPS. Now, if they're
Hmm.
on a farm, if they're on a farm mercy, then maybe that's another issue, and they maybe might want it, but not here.
I'm going back. I'm gonna wait for the monkey to jump in, and I'm gonna punch him away. And I missed. And he's stuck. Nice.
Yeah, here probably the best playstyle we could be going for is coming in from like top right and going on their backline, right? There we're just kind of chilling with our team. Even more of an than like your McCree, Doomfist is
I'm gonna put the
especially gonna
1v1.
want to go in the back line, right? Doomfist is gonna want to make sure that he's very heavily prioritizing the back line. So you going top right on the high ground is gonna allow you to contest them very easily.
Take the one before I go out. Bye.
Okay, make sure requesting healing. Well, your supports had died there, but even before that, when the monkey had gone on you, make sure requesting healing, and then on top of that, make sure you're not standing too far onto the open, as that'll make you very easy to snipe, get shot at, very easy to dive. Just make sure that you're again playing that closer to cover, so that you're not gonna die as easily. But good shot on the Widowmaker there.
I missed. I'm gonna go for one more just of those. Dang, no squishy. Wait, are they all crowding into that small room? Let's check. Yup. Oh, I didn't
Uh
notice
oh.
him there.
Yep. Just make sure that your kind of biggest priority when you're looking to shoot at people is the Widowmaker, because she is the easiest thing you could kill, but then also your biggest threat, right? Widowmaker
I
is Widowmaker is Widowmaker's worst enemy, right? You're both able to kill each other super easily, and that means that you want to make sure that you're trying to prioritize her.
Now I'm just gonna switch over to stall. Hope to like make it to point. Am I touching? Okay, I am. Maybe get a pick before I go. That's nice.
Now this is going to be something that's going to automatically rank you up anything. It's not really a super important thing, but it is just something to keep your mind on. Try not to spam jump, right? When you're just holding down your jump button, that's going to make it, especially the higher up in ranks you go, that's going to make it very easy for you to get shot at, because it's predictable animation. When you go up, you have to come down. Therefore, especially like a character like Widowmaker and Hitscan are going to be able to shoot you very easily.
Oh, I tried to freeze him, but he.
Yep, just watch your shift. Make sure you're not standing on the open. Here, just whenever you die, you can take a look at your death and go, "Why did I die?" Right, and then that's a very good way you can look to self-improve.
And Bladed? Oh, might get another one, might not. I'm just gonna wall him off. Wait, what? Okay then. I almost have. I don't want to die now. I have Blizzard.
All right. Whenever you blizzard, look to make your first priority to freeze, not to right click, because you can actually freeze people twice as fast because it stacks.
Oh
With your
really?
blizzard, yeah. So you can, if you're holding down your left click, it'll actually freeze them like twice as fast. So that way you can guarantee that they stay frozen and that they don't kind of escape it.
They don't have hit scan.
Oh, that's kind of beautiful.
And I'm dead. Wait,
Oops.
what? My team's dead. Oh, that was my bad.
Yep. There we just got a little too aggressive, right? We ran out. We didn't have any fuel, and we kind of strayed too low to the ground, and that made us super easy to kill. So we messed up on our initial boost, and then just make sure you're not jumping straight on top of them, as you can do the same exact damage from just a little bit further back, just next to cover, right? You don't need to. You don't have to be in the air. You can sit on the ground, let your fuel recharge. Because we don't need to be in right on top of them to do the same amount of damage, right? Fire doesn't have fall off.
Genji, Zen, they probably will have a hit scan. Maybe Tracer to go around. This man, you killed no one except for me once. There you go.
Alrighty.